Okay, let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. I am your host, Dan Mora. Directly across from me,
it's fantastic Frank here.
How fantastic are you, Frank?
Super fantastic.
Super fantastic. Awesome. You got some words of wisdom for us.
I do. The last couple of weeks has been pretty busy for me. I took a week-long vacation, went up and visited a buddy in Idaho, and went to the southeastern desert of Oregon. Beautiful rock formations. And then immediately following that, come back to work, and you're always scrambling to try to catch up. Mm-hmm. So the words of wisdom is sometimes it's okay just to embrace the now, like live in the moment. I came back and I had a 2-day conference scheduled to go down to San Francisco to a Figma conference, which is a technology tool for wireframing software. And I had found out that I got like double book, like triple time on that day. And then we were also on a waiting list because we were allowed to go in for free. And my partner that was going with me, she didn't get approved until like 2 days before. So she had made dentist appointments. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to join this thing virtually. And I started watching the opening, and it was like huge. There was probably like 5,000 attendees. And it felt like, Steve Jobs getting up on stage type of production quality. So I was like, hey, Catherine, what's up? You want to just head out and make this happen? And she found a way to get her kids watched, and we just jumped in a car and we drove down to San Francisco without a hotel or anything and made it happen. And it was super worthwhile. So
that's your live in the moment.
Live in the moment.
Just get it done.
Yeah, just get it done.
Okay. I like that. Okay, so we got some news flashes, some quick stories here. Lead us off here.
Okay, let's see. I'll go. This one is really interesting to me. This is through the Texas Tribune, and it was on June 16th this was announced. As Texas swelters, local rules requiring water breaks for construction workers will soon be nullified. Governor Greg Abbott approved this week a law that will eliminate city and county ordinances like Austin and Dallas's mandated water breaks. And it says House Bill 2127 was passed by the Texas legislature during the year's regular legislative session. Abbott signed it on Tuesday. It will go in effect on September 1st. Supporters of the law have said it will eliminate a patchwork of local ordinances across the state that bog down businesses. The law's scope is broad, but ordinances that establish minimum breaks in the workplace are one of the explicit targets. The law will nullify ordinances enacted by Austin in 2010 and Dallas in 2015 that establish 10-minute breaks for every 4 hours so that construction workers can drink water and protect themselves from the sun. It also prevents other cities from passing such rules in the future. San Antonio has been considering a similar ordinance. Oh, by the way, at least 42 workers died in Texas between 2011 and 2021 from environmental heat exposure. Wow. That's from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. I don't even know what to say. Interesting stuff going on over there.
I would, if I'm gonna play devil's advocate, I'm gonna hope that there's another law out there that is less patchworky, that allows workers to get their breaks. And yeah,
we just did a podcast recently on how long it took California to get like outhouses and water available to the workers out there, and how like that was a thing that people, I don't want to incur the cost of putting the ability for people to use the restroom while they're working for me. Like, what?
Yeah.
Just doesn't have any common sense associated with it. By all means, I'm making that statement. If somebody has some comments to suggest otherwise, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. Story number 2. This is from June 22nd, CNBC, Dan Mangan. Judge sanctions lawyers for brief written by AI with fake citations. A New York federal judge sanctioned lawyers who submitted a legal brief written by the artificial intelligence tool ChatGPT, which included citations of non-existent court cases. In addition to each paying a $5,000 fine, the attorneys Peter Loduca and Stephen Schwartz and their Levedal law firm were ordered Tuesday to notify each judge falsely identified as the author of the bogus case rulings about the sanction. Ooh, yikes. Judge said he might not have punished them if attorneys, if they had come clean about using ChatGPT to find the purported cases the AI cited.
I think if you're using ChatGPT, one of the first rules is you need to be able to be educated on the topic that you're using it for, so you can find inconsistencies, which ChatGPT is going to give you. Otherwise, don't use it. But dive into it. Do a little bit of research on your own. It's not perfect yet. It will get there, but not yet.
A little scary that ChatGPT is going to miscite things. I mean, why? I'm not surprised. My kids, this was 6 months ago. My kids had a little fun and put in my name and to ask who I was,
Mr. Sarsign,
and it was funny. It was inaccurate. So what does the Google know about me? What does the Google know about law?
Sure, for sure. Yeah, be careful with it out there.
Yeah.
I have an update to the snitch rule.
Yeah.
California adopts snitch rule to report lawyers' conduct.
Mm-hmm.
This is on June 22nd as well by Joyce E. Cutler. State mandates reporting suspected lawyer misconduct. Latest fallout from Tom Girardi affair comes ahead of legislation. It says California will require attorneys to report other lawyers for misconduct under a rule the state Supreme Court approved Thursday. The new rule, Professional Conduct 8.3, is effective August 1st. California is the last state to adopt some form of reporting to notify authorities as soon as the lawyer reasonably believes it won't cause material prejudice or damage to the interests of the client of the lawyer's firm. Quote, this rule limits the reporting obligation to those offenses that a self-regulating professional must vigorously endeavor to prevent, the justices said in a comment. So we had a whole entire show on this, and Ozorovich, Schwartz, and Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, I apologize if I'm pronouncing those names improperly. They gave some response back to us. I made the comment, if someone's got fear or is like pushing against this, I was kind of like skeptical. Why? And they say it is certainly not accurate to characterize all attorneys who are against this as being fearful of being caught in their own bad behavior. The bar has plenty to investigate already and is overstaffed with investigators. We don't need to help them to do their job. So definitely some good commentary out there, and really appreciate their thought process.
OSB Law, we got it's one of our industry law firms, and happy to have them comment. Thank you for commenting, and we love. I don't think we welcome all. We welcome all the comments.
Oh yeah,
we for sure can be wrong.
And probably are regularly.
And probably are wrong. So let us know where we can improve. So we really appreciate this comment.
Awesome. Yeah. What's up for discussion today, Dan?
Yeah, main topic. So there was a report that came out. This is from 2020. This is a compiled report for annual 2022, a claim report of private self-insured. And thorough report that just came out. This is from the insurancejournal.com. And very interesting. What the summary is that cases claim frequency rose 6%, but both losses and paid losses and incurred losses were down by a combined of 4.5%. 1.2% on paid losses, 3.3% on incurred losses. So this is interesting. So claims have gone up, claim frequency gone up, but the cost has gone down. Now, this report is suggesting that it could be what they call as, what are they calling these, low-cost COVID-19 cases. That's what the report is saying. I read the report. I read the article, and that is kind of the only area that it concludes that that's what's happening. Now, again, this is private self-insured. We typically are the cases that we're dealing with are all litigated, and likely not through private self-insured. I've been asking clients for some time now, since COVID-19 started to come about, what was the net, if they were going to see an increase in caseload from COVID-19. And most of what I've heard is no, that there's not been a huge increase in caseload. So that, there's several questions here. Is this indicative of the entire industry? This self-insured report, cases up, cost down.
When it comes to cost down, it's not like per capita. It's like the total amount. So even if you took the cases out, then it'd be down even further for COVID. Is that correct on my interpretation?
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah. So then that's definitely pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think if COVID wasn't a factor in there, I'd be even more impressed.
Yeah, I would assume this extrapolates over the whole industry. Taking out the COVID explanation, cases up, cost down.
I wonder, I'd like to hear some comments from the attorneys, like what would be different about a self-insured going through an ombudsman? Is that how they work? Versus, litigating, how those things could be different.
Right.
They still have to follow essentially the same rules in the work comp industry, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. There's some nuances, but these are, again, is this extrapolated over the entire industry? It's a good question. Yeah. I also think there's another angle to this, and my experience in a couple of reform packages that have gone through over the years is that workers' compensation is a big trade. It's a big trade mechanism. And what they'll do is they'll use that, whatever it is. So, hey, we got to increase costs. Are going to, the powers that be, the negotiators, they'll go to the employers and they'll say, we're getting a lot of pressure to increase permanent disability rates, the cost of the system. We're getting a lot of pressure to increase that. Okay. So labor comes to the employers and says, hey, and then the employers say, okay, if you want to increase our costs here, then you're going to have to trade us on a different piece of legislation. The reason I say that is because this is all good news for the insurance companies. Number one, so they have less to trade now. They have this becoming this workers' compensation as a trading item at the legislative level is becoming less relevant. At least it's relevant based on what I'm reading here.
I go to think about what are the factors that could be impacting this. So we on a recent show, I think we were talking about how they're allowing like nurse practitioners to give treatment.
Yeah.
Is that's in and it's happening right now, right?
Well,
or is it being proposed? I can't remember.
I do think that there's a few trends. I think that's one trend that nursing and physician assistants are handling more of the care. And even in workers' compensation, I'll guess that happens a lot, and then the doctor just certifies it or what have you, puts their stamp of approval on it.
Does that also reduce cost then?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure, it reduces cost.
And then AI, like we talk about that every single show now, it feels like.
Yeah, we were debating on how like real-time AI is in claims management.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're seeing here? Personally, I watch a lot of financial news, and the big tech companies are doing this. They're shrinking. They're reducing a lot of administrative costs. They're becoming more efficient. A lot of the larger companies, that's what their play is right now, is to increase their earnings by increasing efficiency. Does that play also into this? Is the AI playing into it? Is just a straight corporate efficiency playing into it? It's an interesting situation, I think, that we have in comp. We've been talking about now for a long time the potential and the expectancy of a workers' compensation reform package. And yet I think that the argument for that goes down with this story.
When are we going to see the data on non-self-insured?
It's probably out there, to be honest. It's probably out there somewhere. And I've heard rumors and have kind of skimmed over news that has said that the costs are down and the claims are up. So I think that this is an accurate depiction of what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So in that situation, is there less pressure from the insurance companies to push for reform, or
Correct.
are they just going to continue to squeeze wherever they can, which could also be the case?
That's the theory.
Okay.
Less inclined to push for reform, especially if it's going in a direction that they like. You know, unless there's something big again that they can trade for to get. That's the question. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just the last one we recorded, they're talking about doctors wanting to leave the system entirely because of the corruption and all this type of stuff. And insurance are doing pretty well. Not a bad business to be in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we have our discussions about insurance. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of mechanisms at their disposal in order to make sure their shareholders are fine. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about a couple podcasts ago where the insurance companies, a ton were leaving California.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So,
which is amazing. We're like the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world, if we were to be considered a country, and you have these gigantic insurance companies that are okay to step away from that. Like, they got to have a lot of money in their pockets to be able to pull that off.
They do. Well, we'll leave that to our audience to let us know what they think. Let's get some comments, some likes.
Yeah. Subscribe,
all that fun stuff.